Which wide receivers can help you win in Week 16 and get that fantasy championship? We're about to tell you our top starts and sit at the wide receiver position. All right, Chris, who is your favorite wide receiver to start with in Week 16?
I don't know if he's my favorite, but I really like him, and that's Diontae Johnson. He's back. 13 targets against Cincinnati, and if I'm not mistaken, not a single drop. So he played the entire game, didn't get benched. It was great to see. He's without a doubt Ben Roethlisberger's number one target. And we've seen this offense can't really run the ball. They're just throwing it a ton. Now, he does lack, that massive 25, 30-plus point ceiling simply because the yardage just isn't there. This offense is dink and dunking. They're not really throwing the ball down the field. But with 13 targets, that kind of volume, it really doesn't matter because he's going to have so many catches. And we saw last week, he gets chances to score. He gets looks in the red zone, so he can always get you a touchdown as well. He has a super, super high floor, which is what you want in this game. And like I said, it doesn't look like the drops are an issue anymore. So start rolling him out as an every week wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming obvious that he is Big Ben's favorite because he's targeting the drops. Like you said, it seems like he's worked on them. Credit to him, and they're not giving up on him. But my first must start is a guy that also now may be becoming the favorite of Tom Brady. That's Mike Evans at Tampa Bay. And I know that there's three really good receivers there, but Chris Godwin just kind of keeps disappointing. I know he reached the end zone last week. I know that he's supposedly fully healthy, but Evans was the one who's getting the most targets. And Antonio Brown, he really hasn't exploded like we thought he might. He had a nice game last week also. Well, all three of them had pretty good fantasy days because they were playing Atlanta. Well, guess what? They played Detroit this week. I think it's safe to say they could do even better. So Evans has that high floor. Of course, he gets targeted in the end zone. Tampa Bay still needs to put the foot on the gas pedal if they want to try to secure their playoff seeding. So I feel like Evans is in a great spot. I actually feel comfortable. Maybe the first time all year, I feel really safe starting Mike Evans.
Yeah, I like all the Bucs receivers this week, but especially Mike Evans. He's gotten the highest target share of the three receivers since they added Antonio Brown, and Ronald Jones looks doubtful to play, which means they'll probably just be passing the ball a lot. So gotta love Evans in this matchup. And then I'm going with a stud rookie, breakout rookie, one of the breakout rookies, Justin Jefferson, going against New Orleans. Now, when you look at it, New Orleans doesn't jump off the page as a very easy matchup for wide receivers, but New Orleans is a pass funnel defense because teams are throwing at a 60% rate against them, which is 11th highest, simply because this run defense is so good that it's hard for teams to run the ball. Now, I know Minnesota, they want to pound it with Dalvin Cook. They'll probably still give him 30 carries, even if he's only averaging 3 yards a carry. They won't care. They'll keep doing it, but they're going to have to throw the ball in this game. And I know Thielen's been getting the touchdowns, but Jefferson is dominating the target share, dominating the yardage. He's going to find the end zone eventually. And even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter because his floor is so high and he gets so many looks from Kirk Cousins that there's no reason to think he's not going to have another good game this week. So keep rolling him out.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, one of the best surprises of 2020. I know talk about him, breaking Randy Moss's rookie records. I'm not saying he's Randy Moss. I won't put him in that category just yet. But for fantasy purposes, absolute stud. And yeah, I agree. Must start. And then I'm going to go with Jarvis Landry. He's entered the circle of trust again. So I feel like he's a must start going against the Jets. Not too worried about another upset. The Jets got their one win this season. Don't think it'll happen again. But even besides that, look, Baker Mayfield has been actually playing really well. And Landry, after a couple of kind of down weeks, again, he's seeing the volume the last 4 weeks, 8 catches, 6 catches, 7 catches, a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games. All right. And those have been in some actually kind of tough matchups. Teams like Baltimore and the Giants. Well, now it gets the Jets. So there's absolutely no reason not to start Landry. I kind of like Rashard Higgins too in deeper leagues, but Landry is a guy that has absolutely sky high floor, to be honest, in this week. So I think you got to start him.
Yeah, I'm sure I speak for a lot of fantasy players who are looking at their team right now thinking, man, my team is really good, but it's too late because I've been eliminated from the playoffs. All these guys like Jarvis Landry, David Johnson coming around too little, too late. But if you have Jarvis Landry this week, yeah, fire him out there. He should have another great game. And then I'm going with a guy who kind of been up and down. that's Marvin Jones, who's been the de facto number one wide receiver for Detroit because Kenny Golladay just can't get back on the field, and I doubt he's going to get back on the field in Week 16. And Tampa Bay, I talk about a pass funnel defense with New Orleans. Well, Tampa Bay is the epitome of a pass funnel defense. Teams throw on Tampa Bay at the second highest rate, and that's, again, because they have such a good run defense, but also because teams are playing from behind so much. And if you look at Marvin Jones over the last 3 games, 12, 8, and 12 targets. He had a monster week last week. I don't see any reason for him not to do that again against a secondary that just got torched by the Atlanta Falcons, who were missing Julio Jones, and Matt Ryan was playing like not good. And then all of a sudden they made Matt Ryan look like, a Hall of Famer. So no reason to think Marvin Jones shouldn't have another monster week against Tampa Bay. If you rolled him out last week, keep it going.
Yeah, well, 2 things at play here. Like you said, first half of the season, Kenny Galladay's missed almost all the season. And Marvin Jones didn't take advantage. He just wasn't startable. And now all of a sudden he can't be stopped. He's on fire. And so maybe a little too late for a lot of teams, but you've got to keep him in your lineup. And then Tampa Bay had a really good secondary. They were shutting guys down in run and the pass game. And that has changed. Their secondary all of a sudden looks a little bit softer. So it's a great spot for Jones. My final must start. Maybe you didn't start him last week, but Emmanuel Sanders is the top receiver in New Orleans, and that is a fact because he led the team with 76 yards receiving. They've got a whole bunch of other players out there all of a sudden seeing the field, like little Jordan Humphrey, and it's just not it's not a situation where you have to worry about his target share. So Sanders is the lead receiver here, but also Drew Brees. I know he looked really rusty last week, which is to be expected. Maybe he wasn't even 100% healthy. He will be better, right? And it's also a much, much better matchup. Minnesota's secondary, even though they played a little bit better lately, they still have a lot of inexperience in that secondary. Sanders should have even better numbers. I think there's a good chance for a 100-yard game here. But if nothing else, the floor is pretty high in PPR leagues. So I like Sanders this week as a solid third receiver.
Yeah, it looked like that first half, Drew Brees was just trying to get back into rhythm and everything, right? They really didn't do anything in that first half. So all that offense really came in the second half. You got to think now with the game under his belt, Brees should be better from the start, and it's Minnesota, which, nothing to be scared of there.
This video has helped you at all, or if we've given you any help throughout the season, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It just takes 1 second. We had a goal before this year started to get to 1,000 subscribers before the season ended, and we are almost there. Help us out. We really appreciate it. All right, so we told you who we like. Here's the guys that we want you to avoid. Don't want to take that L in week 16. So who are your must-sits at wide receiver? First one.
Yeah, we said Robby Anderson was a must-sit last week. He didn't do anything, and he's not going to do anything again this week. He only had 2 catches on 5 targets last week in a tough matchup against Jaire Alexander of Green Bay, but now he gets an even tougher matchup against Washington secondary that's third toughest against wide receivers. DJ Moore is obviously the number 1 target guy there, again, like we all expected he would be. Curtis Samuel getting more involved. Robby Anderson just can't be trusted in such a big game, in such a tough matchup. I know you've probably leaned on him a lot this year. Hopefully you have a better option. I would not want to have to start Robby Anderson this week.
Yeah, and if you guys want to know if we practice what we preach, I'll tell you, I have Robby Anderson going in a league where I'm in now for week 16 for the championship. I didn't start him last week. I'm not starting him again this week. He is on my bench. I got better options. All right, this one really pains me, but I don't think you can start DK Metcalf this week. I know it's hard to believe, one of the best receivers in the whole game, but let's just look at the matchup. We know it's a weekly game, right? Who's going to help you this week? I don't think it's Metcalf. Going against the Rams, I know coming off an embarrassing loss, but still, it's not like they were getting torched in the secondary. They still have the best secondary in the league. The last time the Seahawks and the Rams played, Metcalf caught exactly 2 passes for 28 yards. And last year, it's not like he had a big game against them either. His high out of those 2 games was 76 yards. The other one was 44. Only 1 touchdown in 3 games. Metcalf does struggle when faced with a physical corner like Jalen Ramsey. He's going to give him trouble. But the bigger issue isn't really Metcalf just himself. Russell Wilson, I don't know what is going on with him. He's just gone downhill in a hurry. he's still a great quarterback, but that offense just for some reason is just struggling. So I do think there's a lot of players with more upside than Metcalf. You don't want to see that kind of a game again from him. I think he could be benched.
Yeah, I have Metcalf in my championship game, and I am so torn on what to do with him. I haven't decided yet. We've seen, look at historically against Patrick Peterson, Jalen Ramsey, he's done almost nothing going back to last year. And like you said, Russell Wilson playing so bad right now, it's hard to trust DK Metcalf, which is sad because he's been a stud all year. But, like you said, it's a weekly game. And then you also can't trust Marquise Brown. I know Marquise Brown has had a nice stretch of games here recently, but those all came against really weak secondaries. Now he faces a very good Giants defense. Oh, and they'll be getting James Bradberry back from the COVID reserve list. Bradberry has been one of the best corners in the entire NFL this year. He should definitely be putting the clamps down on Marquise Brown. I don't think this is one of those games. This is one of those games where Marquise Brown is going to go out there and get like one catch. That's just a feeling I have about this game. I don't see any way you could trust him in your lineup in such an important game. You got to get him out.
Yeah, Brown is definitely matchup dependent. And think about this game. I have a feeling that the Ravens really won't need to pass very much the way the Giants have been playing. So it's not a great spot for him. The floor is almost non-existent, honestly. And going full circle here, your first must start was Diontae Johnson. He's the guy in Pittsburgh. Guess who's not the guy? It's JuJu. I am benching JuJu. Again, cannot risk taking the L here, getting the big fail, because you know what? JuJu has just not done much. He hasn't been the guy in the red zone. He hasn't been the guy down the field. Last week, of course, miserable, 3 catches for 15 yards. All right. And this is a game they were losing. They had to pass, and it's just not happening. And then he hasn't had a 100-yard game all year. That's right. Hasn't had a 100-yard game all season. The last time he went over even 50 yards was week 10. This isn't a guy that you can trust. This isn't the time to take a chance. You can't do it. And you know what? I really don't feel great about Chase Claypool either. Thought he would have a big week this past week, and he didn't either. But yeah, JuJu, he's not in my lineup if I have him.
Yeah, JuJu has no ceiling. He's pretty much a touchdown dependent wide receiver. That's all you're hoping for with him, and even that seems unlikely. So I agree. Can't start him.
All right, guys, that does it for wide receiver start sit week 16. Best of luck to you. Hopefully, a lot of you take home that championship. Check out our other episodes. Also, we have running back start sit and quarterbacks and tight ends. So check those out. Thanks for watching and good luck.